Hi, this is Justice with Tablet Pro, and I wanted to say welcome to the new Surface Pro Ultimate Pen Guide. And really this is the N-Trig Pen Guide for 2017. So we have the Bamboo Ink, which is Wacom's new dual protocol pen. It's pretty cool. And the new Surface Pen, which has tilt. We have the Surface Pro 4 pen and the Vio Z pen, which works with the Z Flip and the Z Canvas and pretty much anything that does N-Trig. Alright, so our first test, we're doing just a line test. You're going to see these lines are actually very thick because I'm using a brush with a degradable tip, which I did not realize during the initial testing. I also do these little circle tests because some of the pens, the tip doesn't map really nicely underneath the tip. It doesn't map quite as well, and so small circles are actually quite difficult. It'll make it too small or a little square, but definitely harder to do some of the other pens. Alright, so now I'm using the Vio pen. So after the lines here, in the circle test, I'm doing a jitter test. You can see here, it's actually quite good on the Vio. I would give it the second best award. By the way, the Vio pen does not have a battery in it, nor does it have a Bluetooth button. Right, here's the Surface Pro 4 pen. You can see mine's kind of beat up. I think the metal that's used by Microsoft is not very hard. It tends to rub off. See, kind of a wavy line. It got third place here. The little circle is actually fairly decent with the Surface pen, Surface Pro 4 pen. Here's the Bamboo Ink. Again, this pen will work on a Wacom AES device like the Lenovo 720, as well as the Surface Pro line of computers. When it comes to initial activation, here in Photoshop, with this brush, you can see the circles are definitely worse with the Bamboo Ink pen, and I'll have to do additional testing. It could be the tip on this one's damaged. I can test out a separate tip. Here on the jitter test, the Bamboo Ink was the worst one. I don't think that really means that you shouldn't buy it. It has two buttons on the side, which is significant if you're using ZBrush or another program that uses hover clicks or alt button for navigation. That can be very helpful. And the jitter test, in most of my experience, there's a lot that can be said for the fact that you're going to forget about the jitter when you're not specifically testing it. Now in Tablet Pro, we've been working on remapping the side buttons here, so you're going to see a hover right click done with a script that you can get in our community assets. That means that you go to tabletpro.com and sign up for our email, and we'll send you a link to download a hover click script, as well as a number of different ones that we're working on developing, mostly for use in ZBrush and Blender and some of the more complex ones. I go through all the pens here, the Surface Pro 4 new pen and Vio pen, all with the hover click. I didn't test for a distance here to see if you can hover click from across the room. All of them were in a regular, normal, easy to use hover click range. None of them exceptionally far away. Alright, now this is one of my favorite scripts here. It's the hover undo. It's great for a lot of different programs. If you're kind of doing a one-handed workflow, it's really nice to not have to reach around the screen or up to the top menu in order to do an undo. So you just map it, and you have a hover undo, which is nice. There's a bunch of little dots that I'm undoing at the moment that you probably can't see well. All right, and the Vio pen. The side buttons on here are switched with the bamboo ink. The top one here and the bottom one on the ink are the same button, which makes almost no difference whatsoever, but it's not as easy to map one of the two buttons, so it may make a difference if you really, really prefer top button versus bottom button, alt or middle click. All right, here I'm doing a pressure ramp, so I'm going from obviously light to hard, back to light, which is surprisingly difficult for most programs and most pens to do well. And I'm using a degradable tip brush again, which means the Surface Pro is using tilt. The new Surface pen is using tilt to create a smoother sideways line. So with that said, you're going to notice that these lines are kind of skinny and not at all the same as the new Surface Pro pen, which is again because of the tilt. They look pretty crappy. I'm pushing actually very hard to get the pressure sensitivity up, and I have the Surface pen or the Surface app pressure sensitivity set to slightly harder than medium. I think a 6. I think it's a scale of 10 being the most firm or the most soft, which kind of matters which one it is, but you can adjust it. So again, you see the lines. It's real scratchy and skinny and not great, but it is important to note that all of the pens, because I do this test a little later in the video with just a pixel brush, all the pens do really well. You'll also notice here the Bluetooth button can be mapped to bring up the artist pad there on the left, and hover undo. The Vio pen again does not have Bluetooth, so if you're needing that feature for something, it's not going to be there. The good news, it has obviously 2 buttons. However, no Bluetooth button, also no battery, which is a plus. All right, the bamboo ink. And I have this mapped to my Lenovo 720, which you'll see here in the right corner. Alright, so here we're using the pixel brush, doing the same type of pressure ramp. And my hand's a little shaky here, and I've turned down the brightness on the video in order to pick up some of the more subtle opacity changes. However, it's a little darker than I was hoping it would be. However, you should still be able to see very clearly the differences here. And again, this is the Vio. And it should be noted that the bamboo ink pen, the Bluetooth button is kind of crappy. It's really kind of flimsy. It doesn't feel like an eraser. It's easy to accidentally tap. But the pen is a dual protocol pen, which means it'll work with the Lenovo Yoga 720, the Wacom AES digitizer, as well as the N-Trig one. So if you have one pen that has 2 buttons and a Bluetooth button, it's going to be great for a lot of different things. It's also $30 to $40 cheaper, depending on where you buy it. All right, hope this helps. Have questions, put them in the comments.